Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show presented by No House Advantage. We're closing out the work week on a good note here because you got myself, Dave Loughran. Usually you introduce your guest first, but what's the point? At Laffy_D. Hit me up on the Twitters, LOUGHY_D. And while you're there, hit up your boy Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. We're doing this all week, as we always do. Still talking basketball. Got two good games on tap tonight as well. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Much like a prize fight, you introduced the champion last, and here I am ready to take over this entire show. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energetic. It's going to be a good day.
I think so. Yeah, the challenger first is what you're saying?
Yeah. You bring in the goods at the end. You let me get the full pop, which I did.
You know what I was wondering? I've heard this word thrown around a few times recently listening to shows. I checked out your yesterday strategy show. What is a heel when it comes to like WWE and that stuff?
It's a bad guy.
A heel? Like
a face?
H-E-E-L?
Yes. A face is a good guy. A heel is a bad guy.
Okay. Yeah. I'm proud not to know that, but I was curious.
Yeah.
You still watch that stuff?
I do, constantly.
Do you really?
Yeah. Not WWE. That's a garbage product.
I mean, I've absolutely loved it as a kid. I had the CD that had all of the walk-in songs, the intro songs, right? Undertaker, Mankind, like was it Kane, I think. There were a bunch of them. Steve Austin. And we would wrestle and beat the shit out of each other in the backyard. Like that was the thing. And then I grew up. Right. And I realized, what am I doing here? I can watch grown men actually beat the shit out of each other in UFC and many other mixed martial arts or boxing, but other people watch WWE. Now, I'm honestly not denigrating, and I'm truly curious here because we got plenty of time today, as always. Is it just the theatrics that you enjoy? Is it the narratives that you enjoy? What is it as a 35-year-old married man that has you sitting down to watch these events? I'm truly inquisitive about this. I want to know.
Multiple answers. One, it's a trip down memory lane to a time where it's, the nostalgia of yesteryear. That should be a very obvious answer. Two, to me, when it's good, the athleticism is really something to behold. These guys are in tip-top Magoo shape. Just because we know that the outcomes are predetermined by the company doesn't mean that these guys don't do really crazy stuff athletically. So that's just a simple two. And then three, it's actually really entertaining depending on which company you're watching. A lot of good, no different than like a television show or like a good series that you're watching. Storylines from week to week. You're waiting for the penultimate season finale type events where all of the things that you've been watching for the past year get paid off. No different than anything like that.
So is it WWE is the one you watch?
No, I don't watch that trash.
Oh, what do you watch? Sorry.
AEW.
AEW?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So would you rather watch, and do they do pay-per-view? Like, how do you watch them? They do?
Television and pay-per-view.
Assuming you could only watch it once and never watch it again, would you rather watch an AEW pay-per-view or would you rather watch season 4 of Yellowstone that comes out this month?
Season 4 of Yellowstone.
Would you rather watch the NBA?
Hold on. It depends who I'm with. Can I go to it and watch it? Do I get to go with my buddies? Because that's a really good, it's just sitting on the TV.
Yeah,
I would rather watch season 4 of Yellowstone.
Would you rather watch Game 7 of the NBA Finals or an AEW pay-per-view?
Who's in the finals?
Nets, Jazz. Who's
in the main event of the AEW pay-per-view? I
don't know the answer to that.
Probably the NBA Finals.
Okay. And last one, I already know the answer, but let's let the audience know you a little bit better. It's funny because sometimes I just bait you into answers that I know the chat is going to go nuts about, right? Like I just know them well enough and you well enough to know where we can guide this. Sure. Would you rather watch the Super Bowl or AEW pay-per-view?
I would rather watch anything than the Super Bowl.
I knew it. I
didn't watch the Falcons-Patriots Super Bowl.
That was an amazing Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, I don't care.
Super Bowl.
If they never had another one, I wouldn't notice.
Oh, you suck.
The only good thing about the Super Bowl is generally the halftime show and the commercials. Yeah, and that's it.
The commercials have been ass, and the halftime show is.
I can do without the weekend.
Yeah.
Take me back to the NSYNC, Britney Spears, Aerosmith.
Prince was awesome.
Give me that. I don't remember that. I don't even know when he did that.
He was great, dude. In the Rain. Yeah, it was amazing. Like actually in the rain.
Purple Rain is the song, man. Not In the Rain. You got the wrong artist.
No. He played In the Downpour. Of course I know Purple. Of course I know Purple Rain. One of the greatest songs ever created. Anyway, I'm happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up. You know the drill. First thing you do when you walk in here, just do it. Make it second nature. Make it so you don't even know it's happening. You look down, you're like, oh shit, I hit the like button. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. We're making a push towards 60,000 subscribers. Continuing to build on what we've done here. Thanks to all of you watching every day. It's huge. We just continue to put out what I think is the best free content out there. So keep watching if you enjoy it. Keep liking, subscribing to the channel, and we'll keep doing our thing over here at Awesemo. All right, Josh. So we got 2 games to break down today. Before we do, this is basically what we've done since the beginning of the playoffs, because it's fun and I enjoy it, because it's sterile and I like the taste. The
dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
The best is when he's cleaning that huge lifted truck and the guy's got his finger in his belly button going, "Get in there nice and deep, like boy." To Justin Long.
I love Justin Long.
It's a great movie. That's one of the most underrated movies too. I absolutely love that movie. They come out in like dominatrix gear. The whole thing is great. The whole thing is good. Yeah. Laser, Blazer, and Hekinima Hexkonekonovich.
You get it.
Okay. Yesterday's games. It's fun to do a little bit of recap before we dive into this. Plus, it preps us for when we inevitably see these teams play again tomorrow, right? And then 2 days from then, and so on and so forth. The Milwaukee Bucks pulled out a win. Now, I told you guys in the deeper dive, bet the Bucks first quarter, right? Didn't feel comfortable betting them on the game or betting the spread. But bet them first quarter. They blew Brooklyn out in the first quarter. I'm not a narrative bettor, Josh, but when it comes to the playoffs, I'm willing to entertain some things like down 0-2, going home, have some good players. We saw Philly do it, hit them first quarter. We saw the Bucks do it. They easily covered. But that game was really, really close. And as Ben said yesterday through a DM, he goes, man, this Milwaukee team is gutless, because there were times where like they should have just taken a stranglehold on it. And they won on the final shot at the end of the game, and still Brooklyn had an opportunity to tie it up and take it to overtime on the final shot of the game. It was as close as you could get.
That was an awful basketball game to watch. Just a truly dreadful experience.
86-83.
How did the Nets score less than 20 points in 2 separate quarters? As did Milwaukee, mind you. 8 of 32 from 3 for the Nets. Joe Harris, 1 of 7, 1 of 11 from the field. Just awful. Absolutely awful. The only thing that matters is that Chris Middleton is the GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, have our standards fallen so far on Chris Middleton that he has one good game and totally redeems himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like the Lloyd Christmas of this joint.
I guess so. All right.
Look, I don't think that anybody won that game. I think every viewer lost.
It was a bad game. Now, on the other hand,
169 points.
I know.
The total on the game was like 230.
It was awful.
We lost out on 100 fantasy points because of that.
I know. I said in the deep dive. Now, granted, a lot of the plays that we hit on in the deep dive were still solid, and on the deeper dive, and I'm assuming on the strategy show as well, because someone still had to do something. And missed shots create opportunity, just in the sense that you're getting a lot more rebounding, shot blocking opportunities. I'd still like to see what pace they played at. But, you know, Kevin Durant late in that game was just purely unstoppable. He had an awful first half, but he made a couple shots late in that game in the fourth quarter that I looked at and I said, you actually cannot stop that. There were a couple shots you just can't stop.
95.5 possessions.
That's real slow.
Yeah, 87 offensive rating for Brooklyn, 89 Ooh. For Milwaukee.
Wow. That would be the worst in basketball in the regular season by like 14 points per 100.
Yeah, and these are arguably the two best teams.
Yeah, for sure. The Clippers, I hit them live plus 11.
By the way, I bet on Brooklyn at halftime.
You had to. Oh wait, did you bet the spread? Because they were like plus. Oh, you bet them outright?
I took them outright at like plus 125 or something that.
I did too. I got a little bit better odds on that, but it didn't make a difference. I really thought because at one point it was 78-78. I'm like, listen, man, Brooklyn, you can put them away here, right? Like you've tied this up in Milwaukee after being down a lot of points in the first. And when they did it in the first half too, it just looked like this was a game where Brooklyn makes a move. And I'm assuming you felt the same way hitting that same bet. I hit the Clippers. It took 11 points there at halftime. And oh God, third quarter, Utah comes out of the gate. Boom, boom, 2 threes. Now it's a 19-point lead. And I'm like, shit, could have got him at plus 14. They ended up covering though. They even took the lead at one point because Reggie Jackson just went lights out, started knocking down threes. Kawhi Leonard reads these passes so well. I mean, there were 3 passes in a quarter where they tried to get it from above the 3-point line down into the paint to Rudy Gobert, and Kawhi Leonard wasn't even in the screen, and you just see him swoop in and pick the pass off, snipe it, go the other way, getting points off the turnovers, and Reggie Jackson knocked down a bunch of clutch threes, puts them up by 1. And then by the time you know it, they're back down by 10, 11 points. They couldn't sustain anything. And Doris Burke, I don't know why this woman gets hate. I think she's really good. I don't know how you feel about it. I think I
love her.
She knows the game so damn well. She's so articulate when she talks about basketball. She's so well. I really enjoy listening to her talk about basketball, right? And she said something that was interesting to me. She goes, this Clippers team just seems really like, I can't forget, the word was essentially nonchalant in the biggest situation. She's like, it just seems sometimes like there's no hurry here. There's no need to get. They're sloppy at times. It could be a 1-point game, a 3-point game. This is a must-win game, and they're just really, really unmotivated and uninspired when you have so many good players on this team. I've never seen a team like the Clippers, at least not recently, that has such a good team, so many, like 2 legitimate stars, that finds ways to beat themselves in big spots.
I don't know what it is about this team. It's so weird. And like, you would think that Kawhi would be a stabilizing force, given that he's got titles and finals MVPs, and he's arguably the best player in the league. No, just doesn't, like, there's just like a weird vibe for this entire team, and I don't know what it is. Paul George at 27, 10, and 6. He was minus 12 for the game.
I know. No sense of urgency, APKS. Thank you. That's the phrase I was looking for. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Sometimes my brain just gets fried. Yeah, I'm not saying she's the best. Kick's good. I'm not saying she's the best. I'm just saying there are a lot worse. Like, dude, I could pull, even in the postseason, a lot worse broadcasters than Doris Burke. Like, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I want her more often than I don't. Like, I would happily have her on every NBA game that I watch.
She's good. Yeah. I don't care who you are, as long as you know basketball, as long as you can talk about it well, that's all that matters.
Pour one out for the Rondo fillators last night.
I
said it on the live before lock. I would not be shocked if he doesn't play. I think he's primed to lose his minutes.
Absolutely. Adam and I talked about it at length. I talked about it in the deep dive as well. He played 19 total minutes in game 6 and 7 against Dallas. And then he played 28 minutes because Reggie Jackson fouled out in 17 minutes. And not only that, Jackson, he fouled out in 17 minutes, but he was in constant foul trouble throughout that game. And Rondo picked up huge minutes as a result. why, like, Ty Lue has proven time and time again that he wants Reggie Jackson out there if he's not in foul trouble. And he clearly made the right decision yesterday, even though they lost. So I wasn't bold enough to say I don't think Rondo plays, but I was giving him 8 to 10 minutes. Like I wasn't willing to give him significant run, because why would you if Reggie Jackson's not in foul trouble? It doesn't make any sense.
The way that they were talking, I expected Patrick Beverley to get back in the rotation in an aggressive way. He did. I didn't expect Terrence Mann to play 1 minute. That was a little surprising to me. But like, Rondo is not a good fit to me for the Clippers. I think he's an actual awful fit for the Clippers. In what scenario do you want Rondo to have the ball in his hands when it's just not going to be in the hands of Kawhi Leonard or Paul George? It's insanity. Those two guys should handle the ball on every single possession in the playoffs. But what do you want Rondo to do then? Stand in the corner where no one is going to even be able to see him, because no one's going to guard him, and no one guards him. And that's why his ass is parked.
Yeah, but it's funny. Reggie Jackson was bringing the ball up the court like most possessions.
Reggie Jackson took the most shots on the Clippers.
Yep, and scored the most points.
Yeah.
And he actually wasn't a liability. There were times where he made some bad decisions, some bad passes, again, trying to get it into the paint, but he played a good game, and you have to credit him. But I'm watching this and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Reggie Jackson is the one that's initiating the offense on every drive. And he's just like, his look is hilarious too, with those glasses tucked under the headband. There's something about it that it makes me you agree, right? It's such a funny look.
He's a weird looking dude.
It's a weird look, man. Reginald Jackson, but he played well. And
is it Reginald Jackson?
Yeah. Look it up. Look up his full name. I forget his middle name, but he's got a pretty gnarly name.
Reggie Jackson. Nope, that's baseball.
Just go to Basketball Reference.
Well, I know. Well, I typed in Reggie Jackson, but there's obviously a more important one that played baseball. Reginald Sean Jackson.
Yep. Pretty sick. Yeah, that's his name. Cliff Lee's was Clifton Pfeiffer Lee. That one always got me.
Some of these are the best.
Yeah, if you look at actual real names, some of them are fantastic. Anyway, Josh, you ready to hit these two games? Do you have anything else to recap from last night?
I have nothing to recap. When the moment what's the name of the team? Bucks finished that game out, I went to sleep. So I didn't even know anything happened in the Jazz Clippers game. Yeah,
Clippers lost. They're down 0-2. And
been down that road.
Donovan Mitchell's a damn good player, I'll tell you that much. Oh, one more thing about that. Bojan Bogdanovic played as well on defense against Kawhi Leonard as anyone in the entire league could play. I throw it out. Against Kawhi. He stifled Kawhi Leonard. One-on-one. They didn't double. Bojan Bogdanovic, if you guys stayed up to watch that game or you're on the West Coast, you would know his defense on Kawhi Leonard last night was the reason they won that basketball game. Crazy. It wasn't Donovan Mitchell. It wasn't Rudy Gobert. It was Bojan Bogdanovic. Just an absurd defensive performance, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. All right, so we got Philly and Atlanta, Phoenix, Denver. Before we do that, let's say what's up to our sponsor, No House Advantage. You guys know the drill. If you haven't signed up there yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. You get a $20 deposit bonus when you sign up using the promo code Awesemo upon your first deposit. You got free tools at awesemo.com, both the Awesemo No House Advantage player prop projections, and you've got the optimal lineups tool. They're free 7 days or 24/7, 365. They're never behind a paywall. They're totally free always. And all of the props over there, it's a peer-to-peer player prop platform where you plug them into a lineup just like you would on any other site, throw it into tournaments. The ones you like the most, the props you like the most go at the top. They earn the most points in your lineup. The ones you like the least or at least confident in go at the bottom. They earn the least points. It's the same thing except without a salary, but you're doing props instead. The best part is they're static. What's that mean? They don't change throughout the day. So you could get a huge piece of news. You could get a line that moves for one reason or another because it's too soft on one side and it moves significantly throughout the day based on the action and the money that's coming in on it. But on No House Advantage, they don't change. You can use so many different ways to find an edge here. And that's what makes it a really fun spot to play, especially given that you have the bonus, you have the free tools, and you have good ways to find that edge, find that advantage. Whereas on other sites, it's not nearly as easy as it used to be. So check it out, nohouseadvantage.com, or go to the app, download it in the App Store, the Google Play Store, and let us know what you think. Send us some screenshots when you take down some money as well. All right, Philly and Atlanta, Josh, let's kick it off.
Nah, we got to kick it off with something else. You got to check that super chat, brother.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Oh, all right. Ricky Awesemo Jr. Good stuff. Congrats, man.
Hundy Cow, check it. I'm looking at it right now. Reggie Jackson in the captain spot. Mitchell, George, Gobert, Ingles, Marcus Morris. 100K solo W.
Whew, amazing. Did you see how I wasn't going to read what he said?
Yeah, well, just to start off, it says, Josh, I love you, man. You helped me win the DK 100K showdown. Not Laffy, not Adam, any other clowns. Right here, like I said, the main event, the champion of the world.
Congrats.
That's why
Ricky.
I get introduced second.
Congrats, Ricky. We love to see it. That is awesome. Yeah. That's a huge win. Soloed it. Gotta love it.
Solo 100K.
Appreciate the super chat, man. All right. Let's talk about Philly. I'm going to sneeze here because I still have allergies.
You're good. I'm going to let Ricky know. Ricky, make sure you stock like 30K of that away right away. Put it in a savings account. Pay that for taxes unless you happen to live in Canada. You don't want to be left coming up for tax time next year realizing that you've got like a $30,000 tax bill. Save that stuff right now.
Bro, you're not getting taxed. Oh, I thought for some reason I thought he won $50,000. Like, you're not getting taxed 30 on 50.
No.
Yeah.
30 on 100 seems like a pretty safe. Look, there's no downside to having too much in your savings account come tax time if you find out that it's only 25.
I would just put it in like an altcoin.
Yes. Yeah. I would go right into Safe Moon or Cum Rocket or whatever the thing that Ben was trying to tell me about yesterday.
That can't go wrong.
Have you looked into that one?
Yeah, he told me about that too. I mean,
I like the idea. I had to pull up the incognito browser to check it out. But
the sick thing is like it's going to end up minting millionaires. How'd you get rich? Cum shot or whatever it's called. Yeah,
I got a one of one where there was. Never mind. But anyway, I actually like the concept of it because porn does run the world.
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah. I got super rich on Bukkake Rocket. Oh, you did, huh? Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, they dictated all of the media that gets used. So like whatever the porn industry normally picks, that's what moves forward. That's why DVD won out over other mediums. That's why VHS won out over Betamax, because porn went in those directions.
Is that why digital is so big now?
Yes, exactly.
You think so? Like,
yeah. So look, it wouldn't shock me at all if Cum Rocket goes to the moon.
All right. Yeah, look, if it ends up squirting its way out of this atmosphere, then so be it. Maybe you'll be along for the ride, Josh.
I'll be the driver. I won't be in for the ride.
Okay. You're not a passenger in that ship, huh?
No. I'm the driver.
Philly and Atlanta. Let's talk about the 76ers laying 1.5 points on the road. Came back with a pretty convincing win against Atlanta in game 2. 224.5 total. Listen, this should be a really good game. I mean, I think Philly's still the better team given the spread and what we know about them, but Atlanta has proven they're not a pushover either. They took out the Knicks in 5 games. They handled the Sixers in game 1. Well, they beat the Sixers in game 1. And now you come back looking to take a 2-1 lead in this series. But we'll start with Philly and Joel Embiid. He's questionable today. He's playing. Okay. Joel Embiid is playing, Josh. I've seen enough. I saw enough after game 1, but he shot 25 for 46 over his first 2 games. He's 3 for 8 from 3, but at least he's been enough of a threat to have an impact there. Like I said, after game 1, he only had 9 boards, but he had 21 rebound attempts, then 13 boards round 2. We hit that Joel Embiid double-double prop really hard. He had 40 and 13, and he's just a monster. If he's going to play the minutes he is, it's hard not to like him again today, but maybe you have some differing opinions on a slate that also has Jokic and Trey and Booker and a couple others.
Yeah, I like him, but he kind of blends in today. He's the most expensive guy on FanDuel. You have Nikola Jokic, $400 cheaper. You have Clint Capela at $7K. You've got DeAndre Ayton at $7,400. Center's deep. For a 2-game slate, you could like Joel Embiid all you want. It's hard to say that he is the best play on the slate because there's just simply too many alternatives to him today. That doesn't make him not good. It just means that there are too many other options that you can get to, and he has to beat them as well, first and foremost, before just having to worry about being a higher scorer than some of the other guys at other positions. So while I like Embiid on FanDuel and I like Embiid on DraftKings, it's going to be hard for me to take the stand that I want to get over the field on Joel Embiid. It's really crazy. In terms of aggregate sim odds on FanDuel, I have Philly exactly on where our ownership is. Now, it's different on an individual basis, but in the aggregate, I think Philly is just a complete wash. I don't really have a big stance on anybody outside of maybe Thibault on FanDuel at 3,600 because of the position. He's the guy that I probably like the most relative to current ownership. But I see Philly basically as properly owned, clear across the board.
Yeah. I think I like Embiid a little bit more than you do tonight because he's okay. So he got in a little bit of foul trouble and then he lost like a minute at the end of that game because at that point it was out of reach. Right. So he lost a minute there. He lost a minute to foul trouble. Yeah. So he would have played 37 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
I would like to see him play 40, but he's still an absurdly good per minute guy. And if you just, even if, do you have his per minute production in the postseason by any chance? I had it pull up and I
can tell you that he's at 1.5 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days, which should be pretty close.
Okay. I got it right here. So in the postseason, Tobias Harris, 1.68 DraftKings points per minute. I mean, that's
who?
Joel Embiid.
I'm almost positive you just said Tobias Harris. Otherwise I'm an idiot.
Did I? Maybe I did. I was, it's very possible that I said that because I was reading all of the names, but yeah. Sorry, Joel Embiid, 1.68 DraftKings points per minute in the postseason. That's as elite as you're going to get, especially in the postseason against better teams and better defenses.
Yeah, 71% true shooting is unsustainable. That's going to come down, and that's driving a little bit of it. But yeah, he's been exceptional. The problem is, would you say that it's a 50-50 shot that Jokic outscores him? Somewhere in that neighborhood of a coin flip just on those two guys alone. And that's why I'm just naturally going to be limited to them because there's too much comp.
What's the ownership comparison on Jokic and Embiid right now? Do we have ownership?
Yeah, Embiid is at 39% on DK, Jokic at 45%.
Okay, so not a huge difference there.
No, and then on FanDuel, Jokic at 40%. Embiid at 27. Embiid is $400 more expensive there.
So that makes sense. And we'll get to Jokic shortly, but yeah, anytime Joel Embiid's getting those type of minutes. And I mean, the biggest thing for me with Joel Embiid, and I know that this is actually where I'm a little bit different, right? Normally in a spot like this, where it's the same price, I'm going Jokic. And I know he had 6 assists last game, but almost all of them came in the first quarter. I guess that doesn't really matter. If they happen, they happen. It doesn't matter when it happens in the game. And it was a blowout. Yeah. But his assist totals and his potential assists and his playmaking have been so down in the postseason based on what he's forced to do on offense. Now you take into account that Michael Porter Jr. is clearly playing with a bum back. They don't have Jamal Murray, obviously. It doesn't really separate him enough from Joel Embiid when he's not getting those same peripherals, because Joel Embiid can rack up stocks at a pretty solid clip. He's a talent. He's a very strong rebounder, but he's also someone that gets to the line at an insane clip. He's attempted 31 free throws over his last 2 games. They don't know how to stop him, so they foul him. And he's been a 90+% free throw shooter, or maybe he lost that a little bit, but he's right around 90% in the postseason. So I just think that there's a lot that goes into Joel Embiid's game that actually, if he's getting those minutes, makes him a really safe option. And Nikola Jokic just hasn't been giving us those same peripherals as he did in the regular season, where they didn't need him to score 35 points a game. Does it mitigate it to some extent? Sure. But Jokic's floor was so much higher, and I feel like his ceiling was higher too when he was giving us everything in every category. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, and I don't want it to sound like I don't like Embiid. I just have a hard time saying that I'm going to get heavy on Jokic or Embiid.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's easier to take stances elsewhere and just sort of be with everybody else on Embiid and Jokic, because to me, that one could go either direction. And if it happens to not go very well, Clint Capela is super cheap. DeAndre Ayton isn't all that expensive. There's enough value out there. Someone like John Collins, who has center eligibility, can get you there as well. I just, when it gets to be a coin flip on those two pay up options, when they're going to be pretty similarly owned, depending on where you're looking at, it just becomes like I can't imagine. Let's say that you wanted to be over the field on one of them. What you're basically saying is, I think this guy has to outscore the other guy, no matter what. And right there, to me, is just a coin flip. So I think having somewhere in that 30 to 40% of Embiid range, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I feel the exact same way about Jokic.
That's a very reasonable take. That's a much better way to explain it too, because it's not that you don't like either of them. It's you don't love one of them over the other. Makes sense. And apparently
they compete with each other, and that's what makes it really difficult. Like if I pull it up right now, just based on my projections, at least, I have Jokic set to outscore Embiid on DraftKings like 54% of the time, but you also get the $400 benefit from going to Embiid, which basically makes that a wash from a value perspective. I don't want to have to guess between the two. I think the chances are pretty good that one of the two has a really big day. And I just want to have enough of both of them that I have both cross sections of that. If I'm playing 150 lineups, like I'll happily have a large swath of Embiid and or Jokic.
Makes sense. According to chat too, I did say Harris. So you were right. You were not mistaken there. Nick, Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons are two guys here that we need to get into. There was a lot of obvious outrage over Ben Simmons' 4 points and underwhelming stat line against the Hawks in game 2. And, I'm the biggest critic when it comes to him in many instances, but I would assume anybody that criticized his stat line didn't watch a single second of that game, because Ben Simmons on defense was he was blocking 3-pointers and taking everything he did in that game outside of scoring was as elite as it gets. He locked Trae Young down. We talked about that. He was defending Trae Young and did a spectacular job and forced the rest of it. I get it, right? For DFS, man, that sucks because you don't get points for holding a guy to fewer points. No. But he played a spectacular game overall.
Yeah. Look, 1.27 FanDuel points per minute in the playoffs for Ben Simmons right now. That's like the best rate of his life. That's fantastic. He's been great as of late. Just because he had a bad game in the last one. He had a bad offensive game in the scope of like not doing as much as you would like, but he was great. And does that give me a little bit of pause heading into today? On FanDuel, not really because of the position, but on DraftKings, he's 7,700 and we have him projected for less than 30% ownership. I'll take my chances that he rights the ship a little bit. I think that Ben Simmons is the best option for you to roster on Philly on DraftKings.
Guess what? I agree.
You agree? Yeah, exactly. Ride my coattails.
This is the first time I've agreed with you on Ben Simmons all season, I think.
I don't know. It just feels like you just want to have my opinions.
I had a different opinion on Embiid and Jokic. You're saying you think Ben Simmons is the best option on Philly altogether. I would put him. Yeah, I guess it's tough because when you have Embiid and you have Jokic, there's two guys that are very similarly priced. With Ben Simmons, he's priced in the same neighborhood as a few other guys that just aren't great. But Chris Paul is one that I think we're going to really need to talk about because he is definitely healthy. I got a good prop on Chris Paul today. We're going to hit the same one we hit the other day. I like Ben Simmons though. And I think last game was more of an anomaly than anything else. He scored 6 points against Washington in game 1 and had 52 fantasy points with 15 rebounds and assists. He can still give you some really, really great numbers. And normally you're getting 13 to 17 points from Ben Simmons, right? It just wasn't needed in this game. It wasn't needed. And Joel Embiid went for 43 again, or whatever the hell he did, 40. I like Ben Simmons. I like him over Tobias Harris, and I'll take the discount there. But do you have anything you want to say about Tobias Harris? And then we can round out the rest of this team with some of the cheaper options.
Yeah, I actually think that Harris is going a bit under-owned as well. 8K on DraftKings, only 25% ownership. I really like getting to that Simmons-Harris combo. And I think that it leads you to a really nice build if you have enough salary to go with, Simmons and Jokic, Harris and Jokic. That sort of combination to get both sides of that. Because I don't think you have the same sort of opportunity to go to Embiid plus Facundo Campazzo. Like, it feels like a very different build then. So I really like the Simmons-Harris combination. I think they are the two most under-owned Sixers. Only other guy that I'd be interested to get to, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. We've got Shake Milton at 3,200, projected for 4% ownership. Tyrese Maxey didn't get that second rotation against Atlanta. They went to Milton, and Milton started cooking. He was plus 15 in whatever that second run is. Do you think that Shake Milton re-enters the rotation after that performance in game 2?
Yeah, but I think it's all entirely contingent upon whether or not he shoots well out of the gate. If he comes out and goes 0 for 3 again, no, I don't think so. Yeah, mind you, his last 3 games prior to that were 7, 7, and 1 minute. Okay. He was essentially an afterthought in the rotation. The struggles were real. Embiid was actually mic'd up in that game 2 against Atlanta saying, I told you to be patient, or like, I told you it would come, because he was frustrated. He wasn't playing well. Shake Milton was like, before the season ended, had top 5 or 6 odds for 6th man of the year, Josh. So this isn't just some guy that wasn't playing or getting any relevant minutes. He was. And then he completely fell out of the rotation for somebody like Tyrese Maxey, who's a rookie that wasn't in the rotation for large stretches of the regular season, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a hot hand approach with Doc Rivers. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, Tyrese Maxey come in and get some of those minutes. Look, he played 22, 26, 14, and then 5 last game. It's no surprise that Shake Milton's increase in minutes coincided with Tyrese Maxey's decrease in minutes. So I think Doc Rivers was looking, I can almost tell you for a fact, Doc Rivers was looking for a spark. Do you know how many bench points the Sixers had after the first half?
21.
0.
Just picking random numbers.
They didn't have a bench point at halftime. Think about it.
So you said after halftime, and I was like, well, Shake Milton had a shit ton of points, so it had to be a lot, right?
Oh, well, but that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I'll give you Tobias Harris, but in that case, it's pretty evident. Either way, Josh, they had 0 points at the half. 0.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you have 0 points at the half, guess what? Something needs to be done. Like now. Do you know how many minutes Shake Milton played in the first half?
0.
Shake Milton.
See, that one I heard you. You didn't ask me how many minutes he played in the second half and then tripped me up.
Gotcha. You see what I'm getting at here, though, right? Like, he didn't play in the first half. This was Doc Rivers being like, all right, I got to try something because our bench was so bad in the first half. So it's possible if Shake Milton comes out in the first half and they suck, he won't play in the second half, and it might be Maxey or it might be Furkan Korkmaz, who airballed every shot he took, or whoever they want to run out there. So I think it's a massive risk. 4% sounds about right to me. If you want to sprinkle him in and hope that he has another decent effort, sure. But mind you, he still only played 24 minutes or 14 minutes. This is the last thing I'll say, and then you close out this team. We'll go to the Hawks. If Doc Rivers was excited about what he saw and thought that's what I wanted to see from Shake Milton, now it's possible that Shake Milton does get first quarter minutes. And if he gets, or first half minutes, and if Shake Milton gets first half minutes, then things could change. But mind you, Danny Green didn't close out the game. It was Shake Milton. There's just a million different ways this could go, and I can't say I feel comfortable with it.
Who sees the floor first, Shake Milton or Tyrese Maxey?
Again, I don't know. I would almost say it could be Shake. If I give you an answer here, it's wrong because I'm just bullshitting you. Like, there isn't a right answer to this. Doc could think that Shake Milton. The
right answer is Shake Milton, baby.
But why?
I don't think that you go to him at the end of that game in game 2 and have it succeed so well that you don't put him into the first bench rotation coming out in game 3. The playoffs are all about adjustments. That adjustment worked. You go back to it first. You don't need to prioritize Tyrese Maxey's playing time in game 3 of a playoff game. You go to Shake. If it fails, I'm not saying that he sees that rotation in the second half, but Shake Milton will enter this basketball game before Tyrese Maxey today.
Okay. And I'm telling you right now, that is definitely a decent likelihood that happens. But if it doesn't happen, don't be surprised.
And the reason that I'm willing to take that stand is because we're projecting him for 4% ownership and he's 3,200. That to me is the wild card in all of this. Take your shot at it, that it works again.
Totally fine with that. No doubt about it. But what I'm also saying is that it's also entirely possible that Tyrese Maxey starts the second half but enters first in the second half and Shake Milton doesn't see the floor. So like Doc Rivers could definitely experiment again, riding the hot hand. Yeah. If that hot hand goes cold out of the gate and the Hawks bench just wrecks them as they did in back-to-back games in the first half, then he'll make adjustments there too. I'm just saying there's nothing solid about this.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Any other
other than the fact that it's coming from me.
Anything else about Philly you want to hit on?
Not really. It's a really underwhelming setup for most of these guys. I touched on Thibault on FanDuel at $3,600, $100 above the minimum. Scoring system fits him really well. 3-point steals. Just another value option that you can get to.
What are you doing with Trae Young on the Atlanta side of the ball and Clint Capela and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's played pretty well? He's definitely struggled a little bit last game, only 6 for 16, but played 41 minutes. So there are some spots here that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah, this is a problem. I think Atlanta is the best team on the slate, but that doesn't jive with how I feel about this series. But it's mostly a pricing thing. I think everybody is pretty massively underowned. One spot on each side is a little bit different. Like John Collins for 6,500 on FanDuel, even at 47% ownership, to me is underowned. I think that Bogdan Bogdanovic, even at 45% on FanDuel, underowned. We've got Capella at 17% ownership on FanDuel. I like saving some salary there and paying up elsewhere. Capella would be my preferred GPP option if you're looking to get a little bit weirder on FanDuel. The only guy that I think is sort of overowned is Trae Young at 9,700. We got him at 50% ownership. I have his optimal odds at 44. So it's not like I'm miles away or anything, but it is under that number. I think Kevin Huerter is underowned on FanDuel. And then we get to DraftKings, and it's basically the same story. Play a lot more Collins. Play a lot more Kevin Huerter. Play a lot more Clint Capella. I do think Trae Young looks really good on DraftKings, and I think he's underowned. The only guy that I think is overowned on DK is Bogdanovic at 6,400. And that's just, again, like the Trae Young example, barely underneath his ownership. I am loading up on these Atlanta starters today, but unfortunately, I think the Sixers are in a great spot. The pricing for DFS doesn't align with what I expect to happen in the game, and I usually hate that.
Interesting. What do you expect to happen?
I think Philly just rolls them.
Really?
Yeah, I'm very. If Joel Embiid is as healthy as he seems, I don't know what Atlanta has for Philly.
Wow. Okay. I don't see it that way. I think it stays close, but I'd be really happy if this would be the one time that if you're right, I'd be happy for you and for myself.
Well, you do know I do handicap Philly road games pretty well.
Yeah. As evidenced by that mustache you had to rock for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that just
I never shaved it off. It just stayed until it grew back into a beard.
Oh, that's the way to do it though, right? You have to.
Yeah.
Because if you shave it off, then you look like a goof when the beard starts growing back.
Yeah, I liked it.
I didn't think it was. I got used to it. At first, it was a shock for sure.
I went out that night. I mean, she wasn't like, "Hey, you should keep that." So,
but she wasn't filing papers either.
No. I mean, if she was ever going to do that, I would have gave her like 600 other reasons long before a mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this haircut, apparently.
Dude, I think it looks fine. Kevin Huerter played 36 minutes. Solomon Hill played 8 last game. Let's talk about this before we move on. I think this is kind of an important spot because, first of all, Huerter was 8 for 10. Listen, he's a good scorer. He's a good shooter, but he's actually only a 37% three-point shooter this season, 44% from the field. If I had to guess, that's probably his worst career shooting. If I had to guess, right? Gotta be, Josh.
What do you mean?
Let me see. 3-point percentage. Yeah, he has a career worst 3-point percentage. Wow, career best field goal percentage, but career worst 3-point percentage. What I'm saying is that Kevin Huerter, known as a scorer, really hasn't shot all that well.
You know, it's really funny. Every single year of his shooting is the same relative to the league.
Really?
His true shooting plus minus 95, 95, 95.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know what to do with that information, but it's just kind of funny.
It is. But what I'm saying is, first of all, he shot really well in the series, 14 for 19. It's just stupid. 6 for 11 from 3. He played 36 minutes. Solomon Hill played 8 minutes, like 5 in the first quarter and then 3 to start the second half. Kevin Huerter soaked up a ton of minutes. Do we expect this to happen again, or is this once? See, I do too, but then again, I look at it as like a Nate McMillan thing, and it's hard to predict rotations when you're making adjustments based on what's going on. Mind you, the Sixers were up by like 20 in the first 7 minutes of that game.
I gave Huerter 32 minutes, 5,300 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DraftKings. Just looks like a solid play, especially with now that we know DeAndre Hunter is going to be out for the rest of the postseason. Those minutes are pretty much set in stone. Solomon Hill is not really going to be bringing a ton to the table. I guess you could see Gallo get a little bit of extra time, but I'm not sure that's going to be the way that it ends up going. So to me, Kevin Huerter at like 30 minutes or more feels pretty safe.
I think so too. I'm not giving him 36, but
no.
Around 30 seems about reasonable. Last question.
It wouldn't shock me if he played 36.
No.
I think there was upside in those minutes.
Danilo Gallinari, what do you make of him to close this out? Similar price point.
He's like a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy as of late. That's exactly where I have him. I gave him 25 minutes, 5,400 on FanDuel. To me, he's appropriately owned at 27%. He's 4,800 on DK. And I would say that again, at 23% ownership, to me, he's appropriately owned. I just don't trust this guy anymore. I don't know what's happened to him, but he doesn't feel like the same guy he used to be.
No, at all. Not at all. He really doesn't. And yeah, he's going to have some games from time to time where he knocks down some shots. I mean, he did drop 21 last time out. He shot 5 of 9 for 3. Danilo Gallinari will have some good games, but I'd take Huerter with, I think, probably more reliable minutes in a spot like this, even though Gallinari has that upside in terms of shot volume. Let's talk about Phoenix and Denver, Josh, game 2 of 2. Before we do, hit that thumbs up. Get us to 150 at least. That would be greatly appreciated here. Subscribe to the channel. And remember, every show that we do that has any form of shelf life, like that isn't a deeper dive, or that isn't deeper dive live before lock, that once they're done, basically the value is out the window because the slate starts immediately after. Any of these shows, like the process show, the strategy show, all that stuff, you can check it out in podcast form if you don't want to do it on YouTube. Go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, wherever you want. And if you do go over there, leave us a rating and a review, and leave your either email or your Twitter handle. Every single Friday, we pull one random winner for an Awesemo Plus Platinum, everything on the site, free week for whoever leaves a review. So we'll pull that. But you could just be nice if you like the content. Leave a review, leave a rating. We appreciate it for sure. But remember, everything in podcast form if you want to check that out. The Phoenix Suns, Josh, are dogs today after taking down Denver in just humiliating fashion in game 2. It was just an embarrassing game. They smoked them. They're 2-point dogs, though, 224.5 total. I think it's another spot where you could look towards the home team, bet that first quarter, even if they don't win the game. But Chris Paul, I took him at plus 140 to double-double the other day. And Adam mentioned in the deeper dive that he thinks maybe there was some injury concerns baked into those lines. He's plus 110, plus 115 from what I've seen, the double-double today. I'm going right back to it. He's shooting remarkably well. He looks fully healthy in both games this series, both of which he's double-doubled. He has 38 points and 26 assists. He had 8 and 12 to close out that Lakers game just because he didn't need the score. Dude, if Chris Paul is at full health, and it looks like he is, and he's playing big minutes, mind you, he double-doubled at the beginning of the damn third quarter, or middle of the third quarter. If he's at full strength, that price point is just flat out wrong. It's just flat out wrong.
I got him projected for 16.8 points, 9.5 assists. So I'm right on the neighborhood of.
But it's plus money if you're betting the double-double too. You know, you're not. Yeah.
We got him projected for 50% ownership on DraftKings, and I think it's exactly right. He was my number one contender today. I don't really have anything else to say. 7,100 is just simply a wildly incorrect price tag for Chris Paul on DraftKings today.
Okay, so we are definitely on the same page there.
Yes.
He's played too well. He's played too well, and he's lost minutes in blowouts too. So I
really like Phoenix in this game.
You don't, or you do really like Phoenix?
I do. I just don't think Denver has anything for them. I think Phoenix is too balanced.
Dude,
I was a little surprised to see Denver be favored, but it's one of the few home court advantages that still really exists right now because of the elevation. So I'm willing to take that into account for game 3, but
yeah. Or as
I would not be surprised if Phoenix just smacks them out here.
Or as someone in chat would say, because of the gravity. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah. Someone it was a deeper dive. They're like, are you guys worried about them playing in gravity at Denver? Oh, it's great. I think Chris Paul should be the highest owned player on DraftKings, and I totally agree with that ownership. As a matter of fact, if it was higher, it wouldn't have even shocked me. So, yeah, I really like him today. 8,200 on FanDuel is still reasonable too, but 7,100 is the most mispriced player on this slate, I think.
Yeah, I like him. I have no problem at 8,200 on FanDuel. 44% ownership. I think that's spot on. The only reason that he's not the best option on FanDuel is because Devin Booker plays at a shooting guard position that makes him almost essential at the exact same price. He's 51% owned. I totally agree with it. And then Mikal Bridges, 6,100 on FanDuel, and I still like him more than the 37% ownership he's getting, but he's 4,900 on DK, and we only have him at 33% ownership. So I think Mikal Bridges looks like an excellent GPP option, but he's not the best GPP option from Phoenix. That, to me, is DeAndre Ayton, 6,800, projected for just 21% ownership. To me, that's just another spot for you to get a little bit of leverage on the field. I think that he should be owned a little bit more than that.
Rapid fire question for you and our loyal viewers. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
If Anthony Davis never got hurt in round 1, does Phoenix get through to the semifinals in the Western Conference?
Go. No.
Wow. Really?
I don't even think it's close.
Really?
Yeah. That's absolutely not.
Okay. I think it probably would have gone 7.
I don't even think it goes 7.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They were smacking them around for those first 3 games. They got outscored without Anthony Davis on the floor, or the Suns outscored them with Anthony Davis off by like 150 points.
I know you're right, but the only reason I posed that question is because in those games, Chris Paul was fucked up. Like I don't think Chris Paul gets the respect that he deserves in terms of the impact that he makes on a basketball team, specifically the Suns, right? This is a Suns team that wasn't all that different last season outside of one guy, Chris Paul. Yes, DeAndre Ayton has improved. He's definitely evolved. His defense is much better. And you pointed that out at the beginning of the season, towards the beginning of the season. Chris Paul's impact on this basketball team. And listen, I don't think they would have won either. Don't get me wrong. But I think it would have been a little closer than you. But only if if you gave me a fully healthy Chris Paul throughout the whole series, I think it makes a big difference. That man is unbelievable in what he's able to do. If you've watched any of this series, you've seen a healthy Chris Paul as a difference maker, game changer.
I have no disagreements with what you just said.
Yeah, he's that good. So top play from the Suns, we agree on DraftKings is Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Who are you, just to round this one out? Who are your other guys? You just talked about it, but to close out the Suns before we go to Denver, who are your other guys that you really like for them? If you want to go in order, that works, or out of order, doesn't matter.
In order: Paul, Bridges, Booker, Ayton. I like all of those guys. I think Bridges and Ayton look really nice in large field GPPs. I don't think that they're picking up enough ownership, but all 4 of those guys look great to me. I love getting to the Suns, and I just think that they're in a really good spot here against Denver.
Okay.
You said you wanted to bet Denver in the first quarter. It's really interesting. I would like to bet Denver in the fourth quarter right now.
Well, that's fine, but I have more to this. Denver.
No, I understand where you were going. I see Phoenix like taking their foot off the gas because they're already winning. Denver winning the fourth quarter and having the elevation affect them.
So Denver actually had the best net rating in the fourth quarter of any team this season. Second was the Sixers. Yeah. Their net rating in the first quarter, Josh, was 14 plus 14.1. I mean, that is a very, very good net rating. Plus minus, of course, they had the best plus minus of any team in the first quarter as well. And I think while, all of that doesn't necessarily translate every night, and Michael Porter Jr. might not be at full strength, you get them at home in altitude. They have been an extraordinarily good first quarter team this season. You think about this too, right? This game 2 at the end of the first quarter was tied, and I think the Suns might have taken a 1 or 2 point lead. Game 1, if you look at game 1, the way that one played out, it was a Denver Nuggets lead at the end of the first quarter. So, or it might have been tied, but they had to lead the whole first quarter. So yeah, I think it's a solid bet, but just given their track record all season long, this has been a very good first quarter team. And if you can actually look, the Sixers, dude, second quarter, they have not been very good all season long. And the playoffs has been the same thing. First quarter, they've been a good team. Certain teams are different the way they play. Sixers lock teams down in the fourth. So I like that. But your line of thinking makes sense too. You're saying Phoenix, anytime you think a game is going to be a blowout, you should be betting, or you can't really bet it until in game. But if a game is a blowout, betting the losing team in the fourth quarter is usually a decent play.
I agree.
Anything else for the Suns?
Not really. Whether you're trying to go to like Torrey Craig or Dario Saric, Cam Johnson, I don't see any of those guys really standing out all that much.
All right. We have a new Hall of Fame segment for today, Tyler. Yeah. Let's pull that up, and then we'll close this one out. Oh, wow. I just saw the first one. That's amazing. Okay, so let's throw this up on the screen. You'll appreciate this, Josh. So the first one up here, it's an in-house one, but I like these two. The Colts, Steve Buzzard, $20,000. Awesemo, $10,000. Second, the Colts, $7,000. And these guys are always in the premium Slack chat office hours answering your questions. Like, Steve's amazing about that, man. He's in there. He answers any questions, no matter how absurd some of them are. That guy's got a ton of patience. I love him. He crushes it. So does Alex. And you like to see those wins. And then we got another one coming up here. One of our subs with ABZ123. That's solid win, $100. First place, you, sir, win a free subscription, because all you got to do, this is why we do this, to brag for you, to showcase what we do here, to show off the Awesemo avatar. And of course, when you guys win, I love getting you up here to show what's going on at Awesemo. But go download the avatar at awesemo.com/avatar. Use it at Draftkings Fanduel, wherever you play, right? If you finish top 3 in a tournament, 5,000 or more entries, it can be the quarter arcade, the piggy bank. If there was a penny entry, it wouldn't matter. All of that, same thing, as long as you finish top 3. You win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything on the site, from ownerships, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, all the premium articles, you name it, everything. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on on top of that, but it doesn't come with it because it's not ours. We host it. Point is, all those tools built and used by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, helped managed by Steve Buzzard, the Colts, just awesome stuff going on over there. Check it out. But if you want to get that free sub, be sure to tweet those wins at Awesemo HOF. Awesemo Hall of Fame. Include Josh and myself in it, because we enjoy seeing these wins as well. Next up, though, you had, where is it? Hockey cards plus $75. I think that's our boy Alan as well. I could be wrong.
It is.
It is, right? Congrats, Alan. He's been a long-time viewer here. Nadeem takedown season, providing great content and insights. 13K, and then that's a beautiful win right there. Love to see that. $13,000 on a $299 entry. And then one more time to close out the week, Pete the Heat MMA. Check him out tomorrow night for Live Before Lock UFC. I believe it's a pay-per-view.
It is a pay-per-view.
It's a pay-per-view.
It is a pay-per-view. Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori too. All right. And the return of Nate Diaz.
I love it. Congrats to everybody. And you want to get up there, throw that avatar up, tweet it at Awesemo Hall of Fame. Even if it's not a top 3, but it's a nice win, tweet it at us. If you're proud of it, maybe we'll get you up there as well, even if it doesn't win a free month. So, you know what? Here's another one. It's Pat. Am I looking at the wrong? But we're good. Okay. So you just added it. Okay. So that's a, that's not right, because he's not an Awesemo guy.
It should be the showdown contest, not that contest.
You're talking to me?
Anyway, the guy that won the 100K won in the showdown, not in the main two-gamer from yesterday.
Gotcha. I was going to say, Odds Pat is a really, really, really good player, but I don't believe he rocks the Awesemo avatar. So
certainly doesn't. May sub, but definitely doesn't rock the Awesemo avatar.
Yeah. So
I'll send out a DM quick just to make sure if you'd like.
The Denver Nuggets, Josh, Nikola Jokic. Talk to me, man. I actually, you don't really need to say much. We've kind of already covered what you're doing with Jokic and with Embiid. It's self-explanatory at this point.
So if I'm going to be honest, I actually think that Jokic is a bit of a fade on DraftKings because I don't think that Embiid's ownership got to a point where it was problematic. And I have trouble separating the two. We've got Nikola Jokic projected for 45% ownership on DraftKings. He's the most expensive guy on the slate. And I don't think that it's all that natural to be paying down today. So I just think that he is slightly over-owned more so than Joel Embiid. I'm not entirely sure he should have that much ownership. So I would actually be pretty comfortable coming in a bit lighter on Jokic. Not that I don't like him, but it's the same sort of discussion that we just had about in the Joel Embiid thing. They're competing with each other so much that I don't want any one of them to get away from the pack. And if the pack is going to be that high on Jokic, Embiid might just win by default.
JG says, bullshit. I've watched CP3 lose playoff games in series because of how bad he played himself. Sure. If you haven't watched him in this series, I don't know what to tell. Like he's been a difference maker all season long. So whatever you saw in the past, while some of that might be true, this season's a different story. And Antonio Jones, Josh says, hey, Laffy, if Murray was healthy, do you think the Nuggets Suns match would be more competitive? Yes. Oh my God. Yes, dude. Murray. Yeah.
I think Denver's live to win the West if Jamal Murray is healthy.
That's how big of a difference Jamal Murray is. Yeah.
He's made for playoff basketball.
Jamal Murray single-handedly took out the Clippers last season.
His isolation game in the playoffs and his two-man game with Jokic, it's made for this style of basketball.
Yes.
Like, he's not going to be that guy during the regular season ever, really. And now who the hell knows? I mean, he's not even going to be around for most of the regular season next year. This is what he's made for.
You got Facundo Campazzo out there playing 36 minutes, man.
Yeah. You got Austin Rivers playing 30 plus minutes. Like, just reallocate 36 to 40 minutes from all of those other idiots to Jamal Murray. It's a massive leap forward. Massive.
Real
PJ Dozier too. Like, to give PJ Dozier 20 minutes in the rotation over Austin Rivers. Like, those are major changes.
Yeah. The real reason they're down 0-2 is because they don't have Gary Harris anymore.
Gary Harris was a very big part of their playoff run last year. When they were able to integrate him again, his defense was massive in that series.
I say it tongue in cheek, but Gary Harris is one of those guys that he's like an offensive lineman. You only talk about him when he does something wrong, but he was definitely a big defensive piece on that team for sure.
I mean, the real problem with Gary Harris is that he forgot how to shoot.
Yeah, he used to be able to give you 8-10 points a game, and then it just all disappeared, completely disappeared.
Shot 40% from three in 2017, 2018 in 34 minutes a game, being a high-level defender. That's when they broke out the checkbook. That contract looked great to me. It was a 3-and-D wing, legitimate D, back-to-back seasons shooting north of 40%. And then it was 34%, 33%, 32%. Have fun in Orlando.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt that Gary Harris was actually a pretty solid piece of that rotation for sure.
Yeah.
And then it just all went to shit. So talk to me about the rest of the Nuggets here. We got the Jokic. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable here with that back tightness. Yeah, I said it to you in the strategy show. I was like, listen, back tightness is nothing to play with. Like,
especially for him.
Right. Now, I mean that, like, I don't mean it's nothing that you can play with, like, physically, but you don't mess around with back tightness when it comes to being like, oh, he's playing, he's fine. And it was pretty evident that Michael Porter Jr. was not 100% last game.
No, not great at all. And that's problematic because today he's projected for 50% ownership on FanDuel at 7,200. And I don't totally disagree with it. I just don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to project him at this point, given his health. I'm just going to try to be neutral to the field. Guys that I like, Austin Rivers is still 3,900. He's going to fall into something at some point in time. I don't mind that value. I think Aaron Gordon's going under-owned at 5,400. I think Monty Morris at 5K is going pretty under-owned at just 6% ownership on DraftKings. I don't trust it. He was bad in game one, but when that's going well, I expect Monty Morris to be closing and playing 29, 30 minutes, something in that neighborhood. 6% ownership is not enough for Monty Morris.
I don't disagree. Now, how much would you be comfortable in having Michael Porter Jr.?
I mean, I'm not comfortable having him at all, but on DraftKings, 30%.
Okay. Paul Millsap.
On FanDuel, 45.
Yeah. Paul Millsap was a permanent monster last game, just knocking down other shots, every shot. But man, he was also a liability if you watched it. It wasn't good. He made a couple threes, like, okay, that's good. But it got ugly pretty quick with Millsap. And I don't see him get more than 11, 12 minutes again today. No. You know, I've said a million times with the Nuggets, Millsap can play 10, 11 minutes and give you 25 fantasy points. And he did. And that's good. Yeah. But, you know, those are the type of games you're looking for with Millsap. JaMychal Green played 24 minutes. Austin Rivers played 24 minutes. Granted, there was blowout minutes involved in a lot of these. And then Will Barton played 15 minutes. Probably would have gotten up to like maybe 18, 19 in the event that this was close. But that had nothing to do. He wasn't coming back out after 16. No. Okay. I remember they said he would go 14 to 18. Was this straight? That was his rotation.
Yeah. He finished the third quarter and never came back out in the fourth at all. Okay. I don't think that whether that game was like, I can't see a scenario where even if it were competitive, he was coming back out. Everybody else did except for him.
Okay. My whole thing was that he played 8.5 minutes from the first quarter through to the second. And then he played about just under 7 minutes. So I thought it was possible you might've seen him get a little bit of run to start the fourth quarter, but it's besides the point, right? Like we knew that he was going to be limited. So wrap up this Nuggets team and we'll head out for the morning. Yeah.
There are things that I like a lot in GPPs, whether that's Campazzo, Aaron Gordon, Austin Rivers, Monty Morris. I think that one of those guys is ripe to be the guy that you need. I don't feel really comfortable pointing out who that is. The aggregate sim odds for me is right around 100%, which means one of Rivers, Campazzo, Gordon, or Morris is likely to be in that spot. Those are the types of guys that are going to help you win a GPP without as much duplication. So I do like getting to those guys, but I'm not super comfortable in any of them, particularly Austin Rivers, who has been highly deficient in quality over this playoff series. So 0.54 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. That's some kind of terrible. Yeah. Good luck figuring out Jokic and Embiid tonight.
Yeah, that could be pretty pivotal for sure. We're 8 likes away from 150. So get us there, friends. It's greatly appreciated. Salvage my pride. Josh, I have one more prop for you. It's the same one it's the only one I lost 3 days ago when we had this same 2 games go, or Philly and Atlanta going. It was Danny Green under 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm still on that for a couple of reasons. One, Danny Green did not close the game out. As a matter of fact, he didn't play the final 16 minutes of that game. I think his spot in terms of closing games and getting 30 plus minutes is going to be very much in flux from night to night, but there's a lot more downside than upside with Danny Green. And even though he got there last time, he had 8 assists. Do you expect 8 assists from Danny Green again? I don't. So essentially Doc's saying any of these guards gets hot, I'm going to play them over Danny Green at this point. I'm going back to the well there, under 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Danny Green. And I'll ask you, who do you take to win these games if we're betting sides, if we're betting against the spread? Phoenix is a 2-point dog on the road. Philly is a 1.5 point favorite on the road tonight in Atlanta.
Just to double down on what you said, I have Danny Green projected for 13.6 points, rebounds, and assists in 30 minutes. So a lot of downside there. I'm with you. I'm taking that under.
Yeah, because he could play easily less than 30 here too. So that's correct. I'm trying to hit it from both angles, and there you have the projection right there too. So that's nice to hear. Spread, which side are you taking?
I'm going Sixers and I'm going Suns. Both road teams win today.
Margin of victory for the Sixers. Do you think this? You really think they beat them up?
Greater than 8.
Wow. Okay.
What can I get on that? That's probably out there, right?
Oh, it's absolutely the alternate lines. I'll tell you right now what you can get it at. So
I'm gonna try to beat you to it, but you might beat me to it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. So if you wanted Sixers at minus 8.5, it'd be plus 260.
I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So at plus 260, you're talking about it 28% implied odds on that.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
And what about the Suns Nuggets?
Suns win. I don't necessarily feel comfortable about the scoring.
Okay. But I mean, they're 2-point dogs anyway. So
yeah, I would take them outright.
I was going to say,
worry. Don't take the points.
Yeah. Right. At that point, right. If you're betting the Suns outright, you're getting that money line. That's a better bet, especially if you think they're going to win. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be taking 2 points there. All right. Good stuff. I'm going Sixers, but I'm not confident. I'm not as confident as you are. I think this is going to come down to the final couple minutes of this game. So I don't even feel, I mean, it's 1.5. So obviously I'd lay the 1.5 and just hope they win by a field goal. Right. So that, like, if you think they're going to win, that's fine. And then I think the Nuggets get a win here, but I don't think it's going to be a convincing win at all. And I think it's going to be like a kind of last gasp before they lose 2 more and get swept out of here. So that's where I'm at. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. This has been a fun one, Josh. I'm not sure if we have anything else here. It's so funny to see which people are clearly fans of a specific team without saying it, because it's just completely subjective nonsense without any substance behind it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Who are we pointing out?
What?
Say the name, man. Be a man. Call them out.
There's too many up. There's too many up. Like I've said before, most of our viewers are awesome. Most people in chat are here to talk sports and to have measured takes for sure. But put something behind it. This is Awesemo, man. We're not just throwing shit against the wall and seeing if it sticks. We'll see you back here for the next one. Have a great weekend, everybody. And Josh and I will see you back on Monday morning on the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. Peace.
Later. And Buddy Rowe, he's talking to you.